All right, let's dive into a theory today that's going to challenge pretty much everything you think you know about time, reality, and even consciousness itself. We're going to take a journey into an idea so out there it might just change the way you see, well, everything. So, right out of the gate, the source material we're looking at makes this absolutely staggering claim. It says that prayer can actually change the past. I know, it sounds completely impossible, right? But you gotta stick with me here because the logic they use to get there, that's what makes this so fascinating. So, just to be super clear, the goal here is not to try and convince you of anything. Not at all. It's to take a good hard look at the unique worldview and the really interesting logic that this theory uses to back up such a wild claim. We're here to understand the how, not just the what. Okay, so the very first thing we have to do is completely redefine what we even mean by the word prayer. This theory says we need to move way beyond the idea of it just being a simple wish or a request. It's proposing that prayer is something way more elemental, like a fundamental force of nature. The source kind of kicks things off by referencing this line from Jesus, which he said after his disciples couldn't cast out a demon. And what this does is it frames prayer not as this tool for everyday stuff, but as a kind of final weapon for situations that just don't play by the normal rules. And this contrast is absolutely key. See, we usually think of prayer as a mental thing, right? A spiritual act. But this theory is asking us to see it as a literal form of fundamental energy, a force that's just as real as gravity or light, but with one big difference. It isn't bound by the laws of our 3D world. So if prayer is an energy that transcends our physical laws, then its reach must also go beyond our normal understanding of space. And this is where the theory takes a huge leap, suggesting that prayer can act like this boundless force, sending ripples across entire universes. Yeah, this is where the scale just gets cosmic. The theory says this energy doesn't just travel through our world, it can actually punch through the barriers between dimensions. It can reach into that whole multiverse of what-if scenarios and alternate histories. Think of it like this. You drop a stone into a perfectly still pond, and you see the ripples spread out in every direction. Well, the theory suggests a really focused prayer is like that stone. Its energy ripples out, not just across space, but across dimensions, touching who knows how many other possible realities. But wait a minute. How does one single ripple get enough power to cross dimensions? Well, the source gives us a really important condition for this to work. It says the energy gets massively amplified when a group of people, a collective consciousness, all focus their intention on the very same outcome. It's like a booster rocket, giving that signal the strength it needs to push through the veil. Okay, so we have an energy that can cross space and dimensions. That's already a lot to wrap your head around. But now we get to the most challenging part of this whole theory, its relationship with time. How on earth does this energy create a new past? Influencing the future kind of feels intuitive. A strong collective hope can feel like a lighthouse, guiding all of us towards a better outcome. But the past, that feels solid, unchangeable. It's already happened. How can you possibly influence something that's already set in stone? And this is the core of the logic. The theory isn't talking about a time machine that goes back and rewrites the history books. Nope, it's proposing something way more subtle. It says the energy of prayer travels back in time to influence the thoughts and the consciousness of a person right at a critical moment of decision. Let's just walk through it. A powerful, focused prayer is sent from our present. That energy travels back in time and just subtly nudges the mind of a key person in history, maybe a general on a battlefield, for instance. This little influence causes them to make a different choice than the one they made in our history. And boom, at that exact moment of choice, a brand new, separate timeline branches off from our own. Okay, hold on. I know exactly what you're thinking, because it's the first question everyone asks. If we change the past, doesn't that change our present? Doesn't it risk erasing the very prayer that caused the change in the first place? It's that classic grandfather paradox. Well, the theory's solution to this is actually pretty clever. It avoids a paradox because our history never gets overwritten. It's never erased. It stays exactly as it is. Instead, a new parallel history is created. It's like a new branch growing on the tree of time where a better outcome happened. The prayer doesn't fix our past. It creates a better past for a whole new world. So the ability to literally create new worlds, that's an incredible power. But the source is really clear on this point. This power doesn't come from some external god or force. It comes from within us. And this is where the theory goes from being cosmic to being deeply personal. So according to this view, the act of prayer is that one moment when we stop identifying only with our physical body and we recognize, or as they say, self-authenticate, our true nature as something way bigger, a being that exists across multiple dimensions. It's this moment of alignment with our full potential. And this is so crucial. This isn't about forcing yourself to believe something you don't. The source frames it as an act of remembering what we already are. It's like waking up to the idea that our consciousness isn't just trapped in our skull, but it's part of this much larger, timeless existence. And that act of remembering, that's what flips the switch. Let me give you the analogy the source uses. Think about it this way. We often think of ourselves as the TV set, this physical box, stuck in one time and one place. But the theory suggests our true self is actually the broadcast signal. Our body is just the receiver, but our essence, the signal itself, is boundless. It transcends time and space. Tapping into this power is about realizing you're not the machine. You're the signal that makes it all work. Okay, wow. Let's try to put all these pieces together. We've just walked through a theory that completely redefines prayer as an energy, says it can cross dimensions, and can influence the consciousness of people in the past to create entirely new, better timelines. So, just to recap the main points, this theory says, 1. Prayer is a fundamental energy. 2. This energy can influence the minds of people in the past, causing them to make different choices. 3. This doesn't override our history, it just creates new, parallel timelines. And 4. This incredible power is unlocked when we simply remember our true nature as multidimensional beings. Now, this entire logical structure, it all rests on the idea that influence can flow backward in time, from the future to the past. But what if we flip that around? If that channel is open, it's got to be a two-way street, right? And that is the final thought this source material leaves us with. That sudden gut feeling you get, that flash of insight, that little voice in your head that you can't explain that guides you to a better choice. Could that be a ripple sent back in time? Could it be a message from your future self or from a collective future, praying for you to create a better world? Definitely something to think about.